kind of like pee.
You want to tell the
Pretty unhealthy.
Jamie drinking pee? That's if this podcast is being listened to.
I forget that this is mostly an audio podcast, and now I'm just randomly saying this is kind of like pee.
Two Bored Apes talking NFTs, DeFi, and some random stuff. Two Bored Apes talking NFTs, DeFi, and some random stuff.
Welcome to episode 83 of Two Bored Apes. I'm your host, Jamie. I'm here with my friend and co-host, Roy. Roy, how are you?
I'm doing great, Jamie. I got a fidget spinner. I'm on cloud 9. How good are fidget spinners? Have you ever had one?
I have not had one. I've seen them. I'm old enough to know about them, but I have not had them. You know what I have seen and played with a little bit? I think Kayla's little sister had like a fidget cube.
Oh, yeah.
So instead of doing that, it was just like there's like little buttons.
Yeah, you pop them in.
I saw another one her cousin had. It's basically, it's almost like a sheet of bubble wrap, but instead of popping them, you're just kind of like inverting them, and then you like invert the whole side, and it kind of looks like a waffle or whatever, and then you can invert the whole other side. But I've never owned such a thing. I do have like, by the way, this is an NFT podcast. I do have a 4x4 Rubik's Cube that I play with somewhat often, and a 5x5 that I play with, and it's similar, right? In fact, I could do one side of this
more brain
on air.
power
That
to
would be
do one of those
fun.
Rubik's Cubes.
I can't do the whole thing at this point, but I can do a side of
It
it.
does not require more brain power to unsuccessfully do a Rubik's Cube.
That's right. I can do a side and like a layer though, so that's something.
Can you do a 3x3?
I'm now not anymore. I can do the top surface. What am I saying here?
Layer,
this top side and then the two layers. But then once you get to the third, it's like it's all memorization that I no longer have.
Yeah, I roughly the same. Back when I was playing live poker, I would get a fidget spinner. Like that was when the fidget spinner craze like first took off. I think in like 2016, 2017.
Yeah, you're extremely late.
Well, no, I had one then. I played with it, and then it actually broke. That's how much I used it. It was like all the time at the table. A bunch of us had them. I think we were betting. Like we'd bet on like you spin and whose would spin the longest, and like us degen gamblers. But then I guess it broke. The craze died down, and then we have a fidget spinner trait in our Denizens PFPs collection. So I've just been staring at them for the last week, and I'm like, I should get a fidget spinner. So I love fidgeting.
I need one of those.
Stress thing here. I'm always with a pen at something.
What's the stress thing? Let me see the stress thing. Pen. Move it to this way. Oh, okay. Just a foam. Roy, by the way, for the listeners that are not watching, Roy's holding up what appears to be a foam dice, sort of a rounded foam dice. Now he's squeezing it.
Yep.
With his very weak grip strength.
Excuse me?
With his very weak grip strength. I have a grip strength measure. I have very poor grip strength too, so I'm not gonna. If you're in a glass house, they say you shouldn't throw stones. Have you ever heard that expression?
I have heard that. You don't throw stones if you're in a glass house.
I guess the idea is that like you could damage your own house. You break one of the windows.
That's the idea. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, we're talking about.
But honestly, no matter what kind of house you have, you shouldn't just be chucking rocks in it. Like if I started throwing rocks in our non-glass house, my wife would be very upset with me. Understandably, I think.
When I was like 10, I think, around that age, whenever we went to one of my friend's houses, he lived on like, it was like a mansion basically, and they lived on a big hill, and so it had like the main house at the top, and there was like a pool and everything, and then this giant hill, this steep slope that went down, and there's like a tennis court and garden area down to the bottom. And it was like, I know, right? And we always loved going to his house because it was a lot of fun. But for some reason, we came up with this game, and the entire game was you'd split into two groups. One group would stand at the top and throw rocks at the people at the bottom. And the people at the bottom would just try not to get hit. And
that's so
there was a trampoline, and then sometimes you'd use that as a shield and hide behind it. And I don't know what we were thinking, but like I got hit. I was going to have a scar on my foot because I got hit and it was bleeding. Like what were we thinking? That's kids.
I was just getting my hair cut earlier today, and the barber was saying his kid's mom doesn't like when he uses the word dumb to refer to the kid. He's like, but kids are, and we just started talking about how like kids are dumb. Like all they do is dumb stuff, and that's a perfect example right there
Yeah.
of kids just being fucking dumb.
Even the smartest kids are pretty dumb at a lot of
Yeah.
other things.
No.
Yeah.
Here's maybe the dumbest thing that we used to do as a kid. So the place I lived in was boring, and my friends, they didn't have mansions with fucking tennis courts. We just had some woods, right? And so we had a bow and arrow.
By the way, we have a mansion. Excuse me. We had a mansion with tennis courts and a swimming pool, and we threw rocks at each other. We could have played tennis. We could have gone swimming. We threw rocks at each other.
I had it was my brother's, but it was a compound bow. You know what that is? So it's got like the pulley. So it's fucking powerful. And we would just aim it straight up into the air and just shoot as high as we could. And we weren't in the middle of nowhere. It's like there's a house there, there's a house there, and there's a house there. And the father from the house there saw what we were doing, came out very upset, understandably, because we're basically just risking the lives of anyone who would come out of his house if a little bit. But no, we never ended up killing anybody mostly because we were lucky, I guess, or more so not profoundly unlucky. Because, most of the square footage, no humans. But would have been bad if you hit one, right? But, so stupid. Kids are so dumb. God.
So dumb. Another thing we did, I think around the same age, 10, 11, 12, was my parents, our house, we had, this concrete block in our yard. I guess, there used to be a car port there, 50 years ago, and they moved and stuff, but there was just a slab of concrete in the corner of the yard.
Port is like a driveway?
Driveway, drive port, whatever.
Okay.
Anyway, there was this concrete block, and then the fence is kind of around it, and then on the other side there's another house and yada yada yada. We loved making fire, and so as kids we would get what sparklers are, just gunpowder stuff, and put it in a box, and then light it on the grass, and it would go up, and then that one thing led to another, hey, let's do it on the concrete slab and make a fire, and these fires would get I don't know, 6 feet tall and just massive. And it was really close to the neighbor's house and the fence. For whatever reason, they didn't say anything. We just did it. We had a hose going nearby. They're like, hey, we're fine. It's safe. Anyway, we would do this somewhat regularly every couple of weeks. And then I guess those neighbors left and new people moved in. And the first time we do that, they were
more
what
sense.
the hell is going on? And they were not happy. And we did not make fires there after that. How good is fire? By the way, this is an NFT podcast.
Big fan of fire.
Yeah.
We do actually have a couple things written down that are NFT related that we can talk about if you want to.
Let's do it.
News of the week. That's a segment that we used to do. News of the week. Nate Chastain. We talked about this story actually pretty extensively back when this was legitimately an NFT podcast. He, for our listeners, we'll remind him because it's been so long, he was an OpenSea employee. He knew ahead of time what collections were going to be featured on the front page of OpenSea, so he would surreptitiously purchase those before they got featured, and then after they got featured, and the price would naturally accumulate because of the increase in exposure and demand, then sell them. And he was wise enough to do this not on his main wallet, which made it slightly harder to find, but he was dumb enough to immediately send the proceeds back to his main wallet. People quickly found out about this because, the whole point of blockchains is that it's a globally distributed ledger. Somebody looked at the ledger and said, hey, look at what Nate Chastain's doing. He got charged with insider trading. He got fired. And then just maybe 4 days ago or something, he got sentenced.
Because it was insider trading has to be a security.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I think it was one of the things where the news headlines say insider trading, but the actual charges are slightly different because they're not securities, which needs to be insider trading or something to that effect. But yeah, and it's 2 or 3 months he's got, which means I think he'll do 1 or 1.5 months good behavior.
Yeah, he was charged in late 2021 and just got sentenced to a couple months. Which is it sucks, but it's also he was doing a bad thing and fair enough.
Seems like
speaking of people getting charged, the Tornado Cash devs, I think one of them's name is Roman. I don't know the other one's name. Got charged, or at least 2 of the devs got charged, and one, I think Roman, was arrested. He was in Seattle, I think, or Washington, or somewhere in America. And
Seattle is in Washington.
There you go. And kind of sucks for them. I mean, ostensibly all they did was publish some code to a decentralized blockchain, and then at some point in time in the future, North Korea and nefarious actors utilized this code that was immutably uploaded that they couldn't even change if they wanted to, and then these developers got charged and have been charged, and I think one has been arrested, which is I think a dark day for like privacy and free speech and free code and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, sort of. I largely agree, but it's also one of those things where, like, when you're doing it, I think you generally understand the way that society will view something like that. So, like, part of what you're doing, you know, it's almost like, you know, when Martin Luther King or whatever would intentionally have sit-ins, right? They go to restaurants where there's a whites-only section, or the restaurant in its entirety was whites-only, and then you would go and sit down. It's like you're trying to make trouble, but it's good trouble or whatever, because you know the society does not approve of this, even though you're going, it ought to. Whereas Nate Chastain is like, he's clearly just doing something that's wrong, whereas this other guy's sort of doing something that's, I guess, neutral is probably a fair word, right? And then people can use it for good or bad or in between use cases.
Just a piece of technology. It's like, I don't know, email, the internet. You know, there's people definitely sending emails and then doing bad shit because of it. But I don't know. They're not arresting the people who invented email.
Yeah, there's something to that. I remember back when this was the sanctions on Tornado Cash first came out. People had there was some interesting arguments regarding like email and why it was a good analogy and a bad analogy. Yeah, that is no longer in my brain, and I wish it was, because I remember some salient points being made that might be interesting for people to hear on a podcast talking about it. I think Craig actually had some, but I actually don't remember at this point.
What else do we have to talk about, Jamie?
Let's see. Here on the list, we have the name Sam Spratt. He's an artist that you said is big these days. I didn't recognize the name, but then when I Googled it, I did recognize his ape art.
Yep.
Excuse me, not to be confused with Bored Ape art, which is a different thing.
Yeah, I mean, Sam is, I would say, at this moment in time, the hottest NFT artist in the space. He's had this game, the Monument game, running, I think, for the last week or so. Maybe 10 days, maybe 5 days, somewhere in that range, where 250-ish art collectors and enthusiasts have participated in interacting with, basically, I don't know exactly how the game works. I haven't really, unfortunately, had the chance to dig into it, but he's created this incredible piece of one-of-one art, and then people would go in and like add their own stories to it and engage in some meaningful way that, you know, a lot of people took seriously and had fun doing and sharing and engaging. And that one-of-one sold for, first of all, it cost like 3.33 ETH to buy a ticket to play this game, which I think you got one of his editions or something like that. His previous works were selling for crazy amounts. And
you'd get there were Skulls of Luci, it says, is what the tickets gave you a chance for.
Yeah, so I think you get like
there was 256 tickets sold, and the tickets were competing for 3 Skulls of Luci.
Yes, which
is what I'm seeing here.
I think I mean, their floor is like 150 plus ETH, and a couple months ago, I think Snowfro traded, it was like a punk plus 2 or 3 unminted squiggles plus a bunch of ETH for one of these Skulls of Luci. So
that's pretty crazy.
Very valuable things. Yeah. Anyway, that's roughly. Oh yeah, Sam Spratt's one-of-one sold for about $700,000, 420.69 ETH today.
Classic NFT price.
Yeah. 420.69. I remember, I think you might have been the one who told me, or we discussed it. Someone looked up like all the sales that had happened on OpenSea, I think, which was the only real marketplace at the time, and like 40% of them had either the number 420 or 69 in it somewhere.
That was not me, but that's funny to hear.
Yeah.
I definitely talked with some people that are outside of it just to talk about how ridiculous it is. Like when there was they would do like auctions at like Christie's and Sotheby's or whatever of NFT art. It still ended up being a thing, which is sort of
I mean,
funny.
Beeple's every day, 69 million.
Right, just to bring that sort of energy to like such a stuffy old world, old money
Yeah.
place is fucking funny to me.
Yeah.
I'm actually trying to get to the bottom of this Skulls of Luci thing a little bit more because I don't understand what's collaborative about it. Like I assume he did all of the art himself, right?
Yes. So I believe the collaborative component was like people would add text, like you'd like mark a point on the one-of-one
Right.
painting, and I think tell your story or something to that effect. And people were like sharing. I think there might have been prompts, and people were like sharing. Like one person had like a letter that they'd written to their child like 10 years ago to give to them in the future or something like that. And they were like, I've never shared this with anyone other than my wife, but I'm contributing it to this. And it was like people were getting deep and emotional, and some people were getting funny. And I think it was Brian Brinkman was like, did something where he's like pretending to be a realtor and had this apartment. Again, like I understand like 20% of it, so I'm doing a terrible job explaining, but like
it's funny. As you try to explain it, it's like it makes less sense.
Less
I think,
sense?
but-
Yeah. I should not be doing this, or I should have done more research, but I think that it's just like it's the hottest thing in the space right now, which is like we're recording this on the 25th of August, so a few days ago, I think, if you're listening to it.
If you're listening to it right when it comes out.
Right, you could be
But
listening
it's a
to it. You could be
podcast.
listening to this. If the year is 2000,
What do you stop right there? What do you
37.
think is the last year ever that a Two Bored Apes podcast will be intentionally listened to by a human or whatever species comes after the human?
that's a great question. I'm gonna say the year will be 2118.
Okay, so
Wait,
we're not
I'm
going
gonna
to
change that. 2181.
Okay, so it's going to be over 100 years. I like to hear that.
Yes, because my theory is that we will keep doing this for the next 50 years. Like we'll just keep recording episodes of Two Bored Apes.
Okay, okay,
And then
interesting.
we'll have fans that are like 10 years old or 20 years old at the time or whatever. And then they'll listen to
Right.
it and they'll be like listening to all episodes. And so like give us 150 years is, yeah.
That's not how I envisioned it, but okay.
How do you envision it?
No, I didn't know you were planning on doing this for another 50 years. And so that it was going to be like a relatively new episode when they listened to 2181 or whatever. Let's just, I'm going to put this out there, right? If you're listening to this in the year like 2181 or whatever, and you guys have the technology to bring humans back, bring me back. I'm bored of being dead.
Bring us both back.
I can't speak for you, but I want to say on the record right now, if you are some weirdo scientist in the far future listening to this, bring me back. Death is so boring and life is so fun. Although I guess if it's
You
like a
know that
total
death is boring.
dystopian future, I think I do. I have a good guess
Yeah.
that it's more boring than this. This is fun.
This is fun.
So yeah, I would just like to make a plea to the future scientists. Please bring me back.
I mean,
Again, unless you know that it's like a terrible dystopia that I don't want to part in,
yeah.
I'll trust your judgment. But if you think there's a chance that I could dig it, bring me back.
I mean, I could see you coming back in like AI form where you both like every human that's ever existed and has like
Right.
recorded video and text or like whatever is just like now you can just bring them back.
I feel like that's just like a copy and pasted version. I want like me to come
Yeah.
back. Does that make sense?
But
I want like
now we get
a
into the
through line
philosophical
of my
debate of
consciousness.
how, yeah, like
Let's get into it. We don't have any NFT stuff to talk about. Let's have a philosophical debate.
when do you stop being you? It's the boat thing where it's like you replace a plank and you replace two planks.
Right. Whose boat is that? Theseus?
I think
Does that
so.
sound right?
That does sound right.
God,
the
I'm so
boat
smart.
of Theseus. Yeah. The ship of Theseus.
Incredible how my mind works.
Yeah, for some things, but you were just talking earlier about how you couldn't remember this and the email stuff and the Rubik's Cube, and it's like, yeah. The things you remember.
But I remember the ship of Theseus.
You
Yeah.
remember the ship of Theseus.
This is kind of like pee.
You want to tell the
Pretty unhealthy.
Jamie drinking pee? That's if this podcast is being listened to.
I forget that this is mostly an audio podcast, and now I'm just randomly saying this is kind of like pee. For the listener that is not watching the YouTube video, I have a what is this called? A bottle. I couldn't think of the word bottle.
Oh my god! Look how
Just
great your
bragging
brain works.
about how I remember the ship of Theseus, but I can't remember the word bottle. A bottle of some Mio energy drink.
Oh my god!
And it's like a pretty bright orangey yellow color. Looks kind of like bad urine. What else do we have to talk about besides the color of the beverage that I'm drinking?
We both reinstalled Civilization 6 this week. I think
yes, but I've also
already.
uninstalled it. Yeah, I reinstalled it yesterday, played for like 4.5 hours, and then was like, this is a bad idea, and uninstalled. Because it was getting late. I was tired, and I was like, one more turn, and it's just like, how do you stop? And I was like, well, I'll stop once I conquer China, but then it's like, once you conquer China, yada yada. So it seemed like maybe I got to get rid of this. But I did have the thought today that if I change the game settings so they're not like 9-hour things or whatever, maybe I can just, find a format that I like, but also is one where I could like play a game start to finish and not have it take 1/2 of a day.
Yeah. What a great game though. Like I think
it is a very cool, fun game.
I think in 2020, Jamie and I first found the game. And we would play like 10-hour sessions, like many days a week. I think it was 2020. It was during COVID.
Boy, I have a tough time figuring that out. Was it during COVID or pre-COVID?
Might have been pre. Anyway.
It was pre.
Anyway.
It was. Okay, go ahead.
Just like, it's such a. Like, I remember being overwhelmed with how complex the game was. I'm like, there's so much going on.
A lot of mechanics going on for sure.
Possibly learn it.
I was going to say still, but I took so much time off that it doesn't count as still. But like, as I was laying out my districts and stuff, I was like, I don't know what I'm fucking doing.
Yeah. I haven't gotten to that point
yet. I just look at the ones where it says plus the biggest number or whatever. But aside from that, I didn't like plan out, well, if I put this here now, that like none of that was happening.
Yeah. Which is kind of nice because
I don't remember the adjacency bonuses well at all.
The game it's too easy at a certain point. Like, the AI is not good.
If you're playing against AIs, obviously. If you play against humans, that's different.
Yeah. It would be so much fun to just play a game against, like, 10 humans and everyone's taking it really seriously. It's like, that, to me, sounds tremendously fun.
But they also have to be, like, comparable, because if you played against people that are taking it serious,
that are way better. It's kind of like chess. You don't play against people way better or way worse. But then, if you do play against people, and one of the people is like excellent, then you'll just ally with others and be like, hey, let's go get him. Yeah.
Right. But then you have like sort of a tragedy of the commons situation where it's like, it'll be better for me if I just selfishly let you guys all do the work. And then, that's the whole
beauty
thing
of it all, where it's like, all right, if no one's going to do it, we're all
but
going to lose,
until
so
the
we got to
best
figure
player
it out.
just beats everybody, right?
I don't know. There's a so Europa Universalis 4, which is another one of these similar type of games where it's like 4x expand. What does it stand for?
Explore, expand, something.
It's about like creating your civilization or managing like worlds and entire armies and all that kind of stuff. It's like, I would say 100 times more complicated than Civ. It's a very difficult game. But they have this thing, I tried learning it a few years back, and where they would get together a bunch of the best players in the world. I'll go to you in a moment, Jamie. Jamie has his hand raised patiently. And they would literally rent out a castle in Europe, and everyone would like bring their computers, or it'd be like a LAN setup, and they'd come in and they'd play like this massive,
that sounds fun as hell.
50-person EU4 game worldwide. Like, so much fun. And like, people would be at dinner and like make alliances and like talk, and it was just like, they would stream it as well, and man, it sounded fun. All right, Jamie, what does 4X stand for?
How did you know that's what I was doing? It stands for explore, expand, exploit, and exterminate.
Okay.
There is a big new one coming out. I sent you the trailer for it. I believe you commented on it.
It looked pretty. So I thought, I was like, this looks worse. This is like a worse version of Civ. And then I saw the combat. I'm like, this is way more awesome than any Civ game I've seen. Yeah.
Unclear how good it'll be, but I think it's a Microsoft game, so there's certainly a lot of money behind it.
What's it called? Do you remember?
It's like A, and then some consonant, and then another A, I think, like Anna or Ava or something like that.
All right, I'm going
to
roll up our chat and see. Yeah.
I don't know anything about when it's coming out or any of that, but
ARA,
pretty sure it's Microsoft.
ARA, History Untold.
By the way, how amazing is my brain again for just
A
remembering this
consonant
kind of
A.
bottle? I couldn't remember the word bottle. That was a tough one.
Tough one. Now, Jamie, you said just before we started recording that you just finished reading a book. What did you finish?
The Hidden Life of Trees.
What was it about?
It was about what they feel and how they communicate. Discoveries from a secret world, it says.
What do trees
Try to
feel
read
and how
that
do they
backwards. That was
communicate?
difficult. Well, basically through fungi underneath the ground. So like what they would find was that if a tree over here is in like trouble, right? Let me be more specific here. If a tree over here gets attacked by a specific type of insect, another tree over here that has not been touched by the insect yet will start to produce their own natural, basically, insecticide that wards off this insect. And it's like, how the hell did they do that? And it turns out there's a bunch of fungi underneath the ground, a big web. They call it like a wood wide web is what the Nature magazine initially called it, wood wide web, kind of a clever play on words perhaps. But basically,
now what came first, the
through
World Wide
these-
Web or the Wood Wide Web?
the world. Well, technically, the one that came first would have been the Wood Wide Web,
Yeah.
because this is millions of years old. But anyway, through these filaments of fungi, basically, they're able to communicate electrically and also pass nutrients to and from each other. So, like, a tree that's basically dead for all intents and purposes, you could, like, just fell the top of it, can still stay alive longer than any logic dictates, because these other ones can just send sugars to it underground.
Interesting.
Pretty interesting stuff.
Pretty interesting, yeah.
Yeah.
I am in the middle of reading this book, Write Useful Books.
Write Useful Books.
Yep. It is a book about how to write a useful book. Shockingly.
Oh, okay. I that's what I figured from the title, but I guess I couldn't be sure.
Yeah.
I've read 2 books about writing, I think. I read The Elements of Style, and I read On Writing by Stephen King.
Oh, how was On Writing? I've heard that recommended a bunch.
I don't really remember. I also heard it recommended a bunch, which is why I read. I certainly didn't do a bunch of writing afterwards, so it wasn't successfully inspirational.
So one
to
of
me
the things
personally or
about
something.
write useful books, like the whole point is to write books that are recommendable. So it's specifically designed at nonfiction books that someone will read and go in the future, hey, when they're having a conversation, you should check out this book, or this book would help you, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And
useful,
I know what
like
you
a
want.
book that's useful.
It's useful and recommendable. Yep.
And you aspire to do just that.
I would like to write a book, and I definitely would like it to be something that people recommend and not something that people do not recommend.
You want people to find it useful.
Yes. I think that's...
How far along in this book are you? You just started today, you said?
I started yesterday. I don't know, maybe like 30% of the way through.
And is it good?
It's very good so far. And so I was recommended it by a friend and community member of ZenAcademy, Swombat, who read it, I don't know, a week ago. And he's already writing his book, and he has like a tape, like he has entire chapters written now. And
that's like a handle, right?
Great.
That's not their given name.
The given name is Daniel Tenner, and their handle is Swombat.
Okay, yeah, it didn't sound like a real name to me.
Yeah.
On our list here, we have Civ 6. We already talked about that. I saw the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. In theory, we could talk about that. Oh, here's the thing that's actually related to the podcast. I finally sent NFTs to the contest winners from the last 2 episodes where we ran giveaways.
I did as well.
I'm like never on Discord anymore, so the messages of who to send it to were things that I was not looking at, and so I didn't feel sufficient pressure and guilt and whatnot. And I'm also just not logged into my wallets often, but I finally sent them, so apologies for the delay.
Yep.
To those recipients.
Same here. I do not have the Discord excuse. I'm on Discord all the time, but I, lose DMs and get distracted, and I'm just generally bad at organization, and it slipped through the cracks. But the good news is now we can just, I think we were not doing giveaways for a little while because I think we just knew in the back of our minds that we had some backed up. So we can do another one at the end of this episode.
You finally made a move in our other chess game. I saw that was kind of exciting.
So Jamie and I we had 2 chess games running for, I don't know, a few weeks, and we're playing fairly consistently. And one of them he won, and the other one I think is fairly close, but could go either way. And I just forgot. I don't know what happened. It didn't slipped off my radar. And then yesterday I was looking at my apps and I remembered. I'm like, let me go in, and there we go.
This other one is actually quite interesting because we have equal material but not equal material.
Yeah. I have
We have the same value in material but not the same composition.
you have like 2 rooks. I have a rook, a knight, and a bishop, or maybe the other way
I
around.
have an extra rook and a pawn, and you have an extra bishop and knight. So that's kind of interesting.
When are the Chess World Championships happening?
I'm not sure, but Magnus has said again that he will not be competing unless they change the format. And he also is like very clear, like, I'm not trying to make you guys change the format. Classical chess, the games are too long for me at this point. I don't want to do it. So I'm not going to participate unless they happen to agree with this or whatever. But again, like, I'm not trying to get
And he
you
wants
guys
a
to do
shorter
that.
format? Or like that's what he would compete in?
He wants to play more games of a shorter format than the current format, basically.
Interesting.
But there was just a big tournament that he won. It's like, I think basically the only major chess tournament that he had never won somehow. And so that was pretty exciting for him. And sort of my favorite young player got to the finals against him, so that was cool as well. Unfortunately, he didn't win, but that's all right. By getting to second place in this, he guaranteed himself a spot in the I can't even remember candidates, candidates, which is basically a tournament of I think 8 players to see who will challenge the current world champion, who right now is Ding Liren.
What if Chess Alpha just dropped? I don't know if alpha's the right word. News?
It's not.
Yeah.
Information, yeah.
Give us an ice cream update, Jamie. What have you made this week?
I've been making pistachio a lot lately. I've made 3 batches of pistachio in a row.
You were going to live so long.
Yes, according to that research that we found. And my wife has just recommended a banana and peanut butter. So I just actually picked up some bananas at the grocery store right before this recording.
Yeah.
And I think after the recording, I will prepare that for her. And I also have a chocolate cinnamon one in the freezer for myself right now.
Chocolate cinnamon
Which
sounds
sounds
nice.
too chocolatey to me, to be honest with you, but I'm going to see if I like it or not. I don't generally like a chocolate base to my ice cream. I prefer a vanilla base. How do you feel about that?
I'm the same. Rachel loves chocolate. She's like, whenever we go to any restaurant, if there's a chocolate thing on the dessert, that's her go-to. And I'm like,
She wants it.
I like chocolate, but I always go for something else. If there's like a lemon tart or like a passion fruit thing or a
But
something
again,
citrusy.
to be clear, you don't like sweets at all.
I do not. Well,
Right.
no, okay. I will. I don't eat them anymore. How about that? It's been a few
Okay.
weeks
Anymore.
anymore.
By the way, the listeners that are still listening, every fucking episode, Roy's got some new wrinkle to his fucking diet.
Hey, I've
And
been doing
it's-
this
and
for
it's
like 3
always
weeks now.
different.
It's like,
Oh, speaking of which, the other day you were like, hey, I think I'm about to go on my longest ever fast because I haven't eaten in 28 hours or whatever. And I think my previous record's like 29 hours. And then you're like, ooh, but I really could go for a potato chip or some bullshit. And then I never got an update whether or not
I gave you an
ended up.
update. I gave you.
That's that I remember.
I ended up eating. I made like a chicken stir fry at like 2 a.m.
Hey.
So I fasted for like 32 hours, and I was trying to like make it till a couple more hours, and I'll go to sleep, and then. But I was just honestly, it was like I wasn't crazy hungry. It was like some combination of bored and watching food YouTube videos that made me excited to want to cook something.
Oh, Ray, I remember you saying watching food YouTube is not a good
Andy
idea.
Cooks is an excellent. By the way, YouTube is excellent. I just want to, it is.
I watch
excellent.
a ton of YouTube cooking. Andy Cooks, by the way, not near the top, but he still gets into my feed a decent amount.
Yeah.
There's so much good stuff out there.
Oh, there's so much good stuff. There's this guy who does like Super Mario Maker run-throughs where he's just playing like a random assortment of Mario games over the years.
Yeah.
And it is so impressive. Like, it's just so impressive.
Speaking of insane YouTube, so listen to this fucking craziness. I was just talking about this at lunch with Kayla and her little sister. Her little sister, big fan of A Song of Ice and Fire, which, if you don't know, is the sort of formal name of the Game of Thrones series, the book series. In it, apparently George R.R. Martin gives like descriptions of characters eating food a lot. And some YouTuber, 2 of them actually, that she likes, have done videos where they rank every single food description in the books. And so far, they're through the first 4 books, and there's 3 different videos, each one over 3 hours. So she's watched approximately 10 hours of people just reading quotes from the books about food and then ranking, going, oh, that one sounds really good, or that one sounds not that good. And that's
What
it.
a world we
It
live in.
seems so insane to me, yeah. But I mean, we all waste tons of time on this stuff. It is funny, though, because it's all like so specific that when you get into like what the other people are wasting their time with, you're like,
Yeah.
what a fucking waste of time.
I remember I once found, this was like a decade plus ago, I found this guy on YouTube that would make like 10-hour videos reviewing video games. I think specifically the Final Fantasy franchise. And I'm such a massive fan specifically of Final Fantasy 7, but also I liked 8 and 6. But 7, he just goes through like the story in depth and like tells you things about characters that you'd never like. How did you possibly find that? Because you spoke to this random NPC and pieced together this little bit of lore,
Right.
and it was riveting.
Have you played the remake?
I have not. I really want to.
They've been making that for a long time. I think they actually released it, like just half of it, right? If
I
I'm
think
not
so.
mistaken.
Yeah, like a while back it came,
and the
like,
other
a
half
couple
is
years.
still not done yet.
Yeah. I want to play that. Oh, I really want to play Baldur's Gate 3, which I loved the first
I don't know
2.
much about Baldur's Gate, but I want to stay on Final Fantasy 7 for a bit here.
Okay.
What was your party?
Oh, I mean, it changed. Yeah, I tried like most of them. I really loved Sid. Was he the pilot?
I don't know them well enough. I know Barrett, Tifa, Eris, Vincent,
13.
and Red.
Yeah. I had
was
Vincent for
like
a while.
Red and Vincent kind of guy.
Yeah.
And Cloud, of course, because you have to.
Yeah. I mean, I played it so much. I think had all of them. Oh, yeah. God, what a great game.
Yeah.
What a truly excellent game. I still remember one of the most mind-blowing experiences as a kid that was playing Final Fantasy 7 and playing for hours and hours and hours, going through Midgar and like all the little things in there that you do. You go to like I think I genuinely thought, all right, we're at the final boss area. It's this Shinra tower. Get to the top, figure it out, puzzles, and all right, now there's this bike mini game thing, and you escape, and then you get to the world map, and it's like, all right, that was one city, and then there's like a literal whole world to explore.
But weren't there multiple discs that gave away the fact that there was no way you were going to be at the end? Like you were still on disc 1.
That's true. Maybe I didn't know that.
You were a very dumb child, though, I guess.
All children are dumb, Jamie. We've established this.
Right, yeah, we just proved that. Or they do dumb stuff at the very least.
Yeah. But like, yeah, what a great
Speaking of
game.
dumb stuff that we did in Final Fantasy games, I played Final Fantasy Tactics. I bought it while I was on vacation in Oregon. That's a detail of the story that doesn't need to be there. But anyway, got back to my aunt's house where I played it for the first time. Also doesn't need to be there. And I was playing it, and this is a game where it's strategy, and so you pick out which characters you want to use in each battle and like where you want to place them. And it'll have like the default characters that you need to have in the battle, and then you get to accentuate it with like another 4 or 6 characters or whatever. The first time playing it, I did not know how to add the extra characters to the battle. You just had to hit like, square or something on whatever tile you wanted. And so I tried the first battle like 10 times in a row, and I was like, I can't beat the first battle in this game. It was mind-boggling to me. And it was also a thing where like, you and I have played enough RPGs. There are battles in RPGs that, for story purposes, you're not allowed to win, but then the story continues and it's just a thing. And I was like, is that one of these? But somehow I got like a defective copy that's sending me to the game over screen or something. And then eventually, somehow, I don't know if I went to GameFAQs.com or if I just figured it out. I was like, oh, I can have more than 2 characters. I was trying so hard to beat this entire fucking battle with just 2 characters.
That reminds me of Warcraft 2, I think, maybe Warcraft 1. When I was growing up at like the news agencies, do you have those like general stores that sell magazines and stuff like that?
Sure, we would not call them that, but yeah.
Yeah. You'd buy magazines, and if it was a gaming magazine, they'd have like a disc, and it would have like demos of like 5 or 6 games on it, and there's always like one awesome one and a bunch of junk. But Warcraft was on one of these, and like, I remember playing it. I loved it, so excited. And I think on like the 3rd or 4th level that you play, their way of making it a demo so you don't get the full game was we're just going to add like 1 million units to come in and flood and attack you and you can't win.
That's awesome.
And I was like, all right, how do we beat this level? We need better walls, or we need a tower here, and
1 million arrow towers or whatever.
And it's just like it was so impossible. And eventually we were like, it's just not possible.
I remember there was an indie movie rental store near me, and they had computer games, and I would rent Warcraft 1 on floppy disks.
Wow.
Like the 1.4-inch floppy disk. So there's like 4 of them. You'd rent it and then have to like install it and then bring it back 5 days later. God, that was fucking fun.
I remember we had one game that was like 9 or 12 floppy disks just to play.
Good Lord.
Man.
Okay, well, this
Kids
has been
these days.
Episode of Two Bored Apes.
An NFT and DeFi
the world's
podcast.
number one NFT and crypto podcast.
Should we give away some Tezos art NFTs and play a game?
Give it away.
Yeah. If you don't know how to play this game, go back and listen to one of our other episodes.
Yeah, or just Google, what am I thinking?
Or just use context clues and figure it out. It's not that difficult.
Pretty easy.
I got something.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Cezanne.
What did you say?
Cezanne. Paul Cezanne.
Okay. Sure.
3, 2, 1.
Monet.
Cypress and Monet. Cypress and Monet. Okay, I got one.
Okay.
Ready? 3, 2, 1.
France.
Lily pads. That is a fail. Oh, you were thinking Cypress, the location.
Oh,
I was thinking the
Cypress
type of tree.
Okay. Yeah.
It's a bummer. Okay, so now we got lily pad and France. I wish I could say Monet.
Okay.
3, 2, 1.
Garden.
Haystacks.
I was going to say haystacks. Oh.
Haystacks and garden.
Okay.
3, 2, 1.
Impressionism.
Plants and impressionism. Okay. Plants and impressionism.
You're
not supposed to take this long between words, by the way.
Fine. Let's go.
3, 2, 1.
Paint.
Sunflowers.
I was going to say sunflowers. Why did I say sunflowers?
Okay, I think we got an answer here, though, right?
Yes.
3, 2, 1. Yellow.
Van Gogh. What did you say? You say yellow?
I said yellow, yes. Yellow and Van Gogh. I wish we could say sunflowers now.
Sure. I got one.
3, 2, 1.
Orange.
Color and orange. God damn it. It's going to be one of these fucking days. Color and orange. I don't like this at all. 3, 2, 1. Fruit. Nice.
We got it. And your stream froze.
Roy appears to have celebrated and possibly broke something. Oh, you were frozen in a freeze frame as if it was the end of an episode. It was pretty amazing.
That was
victory
amazing.
With your hand raised. Okay, nice. I didn't think that was going to work. We had so many much more logical places to meet up earlier in the game, and then we did it on fruit. All right. So,
it seems like Riverside might be wrong.
You know the drill, or you don't. Okay. If you don't know the drill, there's going to be a way to type the word fruit somewhere.
Yeah.
And then you'll be randomly selected.
Yeah.
2 people will be randomly selected as winners of a free NFT on the Tezos blockchain from each Roy and I.
Yep.
So participate in that if you want to. They generally have a market value
the day it comes out,
about $3.
3 to 10.
Yeah, I mean,
something
it's free money,
in that range.
Or free art, however you take it.
Free money and free art. If you're listening to this on the day it comes out, I believe it'll come out on a Monday.
I'm sorry. We're talking over each other. It's free art, but it is exchangeable for money. Right?
That is technically
we're definitely not sending
correct.
money. We're sending art.
On Tuesday the 29th, so if you're listening to it before then or even after, our Denizens PFPs are coming out. You can burn a Zen chest if you have one, reveal your PFP, and
they'll
be open forever, so no rush. Get yourself a Denizen PFP. I'm excited. Like, the one of ones looks so good. Wondering is such a crazy good artist that,
I saw 3 one of ones today, in fact.
There you go. There you go.
Yep.
There's
There I
33 of
go.
them, which is like,
Oh, look at this.
is awesome.
I guess I didn't even think
Batman?
of this, but it's
Oh, no,
it's
is
a
that a
Starry
Starry
Night
Night?
thing.
Nice.
Yeah, Van Gogh.
And Gotha. Cool.
All right,
Thanks for listening.
been another episode in the books. Donate blood, right? Don't litter, etc.
Read more. I think people should probably read more. Reading is
Read more,
is a good thing.
preferably good books, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Val is a fan of saying you would just find the best 100 books in the world and like just reread those. Don't read crappy books. If you start reading a book and it's
lots of
bad,
good
just give up.
books.
Find a good book.
Yeah, that's speaking of which, do you use Goodreads?
A little bit. Like I used to log all my books in it. Now I don't, but
Yeah.
I'll go back to it and try and remember what I read and
I
sometimes
use it
find
a
reviews
good
on
amount. And some of the people that I'm friends with will like finish a book and then rate it like 2 stars. And I won't finish a book if I'm not going to rate it 3 or more stars. So
Yeah.
every single thing in there basically for me is 3+ stars. I don't know. I give up on books pretty easily, and I think it's a good thing.
I used to not be that way. I would, if I started a book and got like 30% of the way through, I'd almost always finish it. But now I give up on books as well.
Right. We're running out of time here, and there's
we're
for
getting
sure
old.
books that you're gonna love, so you might as well just move on to
so
another
many
one. That's
great ones out there already, and like every year,
Yeah.
people are writing useful books or funny books or interesting books or et cetera, et cetera.
right. Anyway, this is the end of the episode. Thank you for
Bye.
listening.